Hello, my friends. Let's do my baby thing. Get all my kids off the chair. Hello. Hello. Happy Thursday. I missed you all yesterday. I had a very busy day. What did I do? Oh, I did a bunch of name change admin stuff in the morning, and I spent like 2 hours logging into all of my like credit card and bank accounts and stuff and being like, help, how do I change my name? My name's been changed. How do I change my name? And I think one of them I was able to do without sending a message to be like, what do I do? And then they all had to message me back and be like, here's this secret form that you can't just find on the website. So I spent a lot of time doing that. And then I wanted to stream, but I knew I had stuff I had to do. So I did the stuff. And I went and saw... I was going to go see Dumb Money yesterday. That was my original plan. Stuff is boring but necessary. Hi, Brenna. It is boring but necessary. My plan was to go see Dumb Money. And then getting out of the house just took me longer than I thought it was going to. And so instead, showing 20 minutes later was Dick's the Musical. And so I went to that instead. And I don't know. It occasionally made me laugh. And I see what they were trying to do. And fundamentally, I don't think it was good. It's like a not even 90-minute movie that felt too long. So that's not great. Like it seemed like an SNL sketch that went on too long. Does that make sense? I didn't even realize it was a thing coming out. I saw a trailer for it maybe when I saw Bottoms, like a couple months ago. But because I do the Alamo Drafthouse season pass and then I can just go see a movie every day, sometimes it's like I'll just look at what's showing at a time, and if there's anything I'm remotely interested in seeing, I'll go. I would have much preferred to see Dumb Money, and I still will go see Dumb Money. But, you know, I essentially didn't pay to see the movie yesterday, so fine, whatever. And as I said in the Discord, gays should get to have bad movies too. Let us be in a place where some of the movies that are made for queer people are not good. Because there are so many of them, more of them. There's a lot of good stuff coming out right now. Well, Dumb Money's been out, and I still want to see A Haunting in Venice, which is still out. Killers of the Flower Moon just came out. That's high on my list. And Anatomy of a Fall, I've also seen trailers for that looked really good. That's out now too. That was like a big festival, some festival. It was very popular at some festival. So those are all on the list. Anyway, oh yeah, then I ran to rehearsal for my show that is going up next week. You can get tickets at the link in my bio, in my link tree, if you are local and would like to come see what I actually do, which is theater sometimes. Yeah, and then by the time I got home, there was not time to stream before Survivor, and so instead I, spent some time with my dog and ate food like a person. And I'm in the midst of planning taking my trip to Europe with my 2020 flights that I haven't shut up about for 3 years. Oh, that was another thing that I did yesterday morning. I poked around the website long enough to finally talk to a human, to be like, how do I use my flights from 3.5 years ago? Because you can't just rebook them yourself. You have to do it through they call it an advisor. And so I spent quite a while talking to a person because they were like, we can't find your booking. And I was like, I know, I can't find my booking either, and that's not cool. But we found it. So I'm going to travel, I think, in December, which is like not the ideal time to be going to Europe. Tiny violins. But I'll go see my friend in Edinburgh, and I'm going to go see Aiden in Dublin, which is very exciting. And I've never been to Dublin. I've never been to Ireland at all. So that's really cool. And I've technically been to Edinburgh once, but it was during Fringe, and that's like a whole separate thing. I've never been to Edinburgh when it was just itself. So I'm looking forward to both of those, even though it's going to be cold and dark and wet. I was texting Josh, and I was like, I will suffer through Edinburgh and Dublin for my friends, but I would like to also go somewhere warm in Europe while I'm over there. Because fundamentally, I think the places that are really at the top of my travel list are all in like South America, and I just can't make anywhere in Europe be South America, but I'm trying really hard. So I might do a few days in Lisbon, I think. Because I've been to Portugal for like a day when I was in college. But it was like very eastern Portugal, like just over the border from Spain, on a trip with my program when I was studying in Madrid. So we'll go to Lisbon, probably, because I literally yesterday Googled. I was like, where is it warm in Europe in December? And like a lot of south of Spain, south of France, Greece was on the list, but Greece is a long flight away from London. And I have to fly in and out of Heathrow because that is where my original tickets were booked. Greece is far. I really want to go to Greece. That's also very high on my list, but this is not the trip to do that. But I know Josh went to Portugal earlier this year, and so I was like, where did you go when you were in Portugal? Help. So we'll figure that out. So I think I'm going to hit 4 cities in like 10 or 12 days, but I did that once before, and it was really, really fun. You just did Athens and Santorini. I want to go so bad. I haven't done a lot of Mediterranean travel. Like fundamentally the closest I've been to Rome and Italy. I haven't ever been to the south of France or even really the south of Spain. I did a lot of travel in Spain, but not south. And Tangier in Morocco might technically just barely border the Mediterranean, but didn't feel Mediterranean. I went to Mallorca. That was actually the first place I traveled when I lived in Spain, and that is an island in the Mediterranean, and that was really cool. But yeah, so it'll be Edinburgh to see my friend, which is why I was traveling in 2020 in the first place. Dublin to see Aiden, who I would not have known in 2020. Lisbon to be somewhere warm. And London for a couple of days to hit some theater and maybe find some Taskmaster people performing somewhere if I can. Just because I'm flying in and out of London, so I figure I should spend, a day or two there. But I've been to London several times because my friend who lives in Edinburgh now used to live in London, so that was an easy place to spend some time. But hopefully I'm also spending like a week of this trip staying with friends, so that helps a lot. It'll be not, the expensive flights are paid for, and then if half of the time I'm staying somewhere for free, then this becomes a very affordable trip, fortunately. And I was saving up for being unemployed and for traveling at some point this year, so I am looking forward to it. Once I can get through all of the, logistics of it. Literally, this is my spare paper, my New York City voter guide, where I'm writing down all the places I'm trying to go and where and how much flights cost, because I'm such a visual person. I need to have it written down. Anyway, enough about my personal life and itinerary and travel challenges and name change woes. I think I'm gonna wait and do my passport after I've taken this trip that's still in my old name because my passport matches the name that's on the flights right now. Anyway, like, let's just not make it complicated. Yeah. But let's talk about Survivor, because I thought the episode last night was super fun. Very bummed at the way it turned out. I feel like that sweet kid deserved better. And certainly in the battle between Brando and Drew, I would much rather have Brando stay. I find Drew so grating. Maybe he's a perfectly fine guy. I don't know. As you know, Brenna, he was not in New York because he was in Oxford. And Brando is just like this sweet boy. I was like at the bar at the same time as him, and he was like, I'm so not used to people like seeking me out for attention. He seemed very overwhelmed, but like he's really young. Drew is a lot, but it's interesting to see him play, but I would have preferred the other outcome. Drew Bazile is set up to go farther. He is. I'm annoyed at how well positioned in the game he is right now, but I think he is in a very good spot for the long haul, annoyingly. I don't love some of the moves that he's making, but I think his alliance with Austin has put him in a really good spot. And I love Austin, so I guess I'll suffer through Drew. Get JT and Steven 2.0, we know how the original story ended. That's true. I mean, I guess I like vaguely see what he's saying, but I think there's much more of, I think Steven and Drew are much more analogous than JT and Austin. And the game is so different from Tocantins that who knows if that sort of duo is even, you know, has the same longevity that it did then. I also think it's very clear that Drew, not that it wasn't clear that JT and Steven were together, but the strategy of the game has evolved so much that I think people will clock Drew and Austin as a pair threat more so than people in Tocantins did JT and Steven. And Austin's not my winner pick, but I do really like Austin. This poor kid is like, can I please just have a sandwich? I'm so hungry. Oh, I love him so much. And then I laughed really hard when he got up to the booth because I was watching David Bloomberg and I mix it up on Twitter a lot. And he was like, Austin's under the impression that he's going to be able to sacrifice his vote to extend the longevity of his idol, but then use the goodwill advantage to cancel out that sacrificed vote. And I think he's in for a rude awakening or something to that effect. And then he went up there and he's like, here's my one piece of paper and here's my other piece of paper and now I'm going to vote. And David was like, that's not how the rules should work. I kind of agree with him. I think that's not how the rules should work. But, like, I think losing your vote and sacrificing your vote are different in terms of how the mechanics should work. Like, if you choose to sacrifice your vote, that's different from you chose to give it away versus not having it and getting it back. I tweeted, I was like, Austin out here playing like draw fours on wild cards on reverses in a 2-person game of Uno. But you know, it made for interesting gameplay, and now that advantage is out of the game pre-merge. I can't believe we're at the merge next week already, or at the One World Beach, or whatever it is that we're doing. I feel so soon. Like 13 feels like a big merge for an 18-person game. But who knows what's actually happening next week, because it's not necessarily the merge just because they're all in one beach, as we know well in the new era. We know Old Reba is not together since the Old Reba women don't like Sifu. With the merge or whatever coming, I can see Sifu and RJ Maya going first, and then everyone turns on Old Bello, leaving the D, Julie, Austin, Drew Alliance to run the game. I feel like we used to get the merge at like 19. Yeah. I think that's true. That was usually in 20-person games, though. So even with 13 people, they'd have to go at least 2 weeks longer. Because, like, I feel like with 20-person games, they do usually merge at 13. Whereas, I don't know, somehow with 2 less people, that just feels like so much sooner. You know, they had what, like 4 days with their second group of people? I don't know. But also, who knows what the actual mechanics will be next week in terms of, is this like merge classic, you are all one tribe now? Not necessarily. Is this another tribe swap where we put you in 2 groups and one group is safe and the other group goes to tribal, the way that they've done in the past? I've talked about how I really appreciated Rob reframing it that way. It's like, yeah, you're just doing a tribe swap and one-worlding them, but it's not actually the merge, so just don't call it the merge, and I think people would hate this twist a lot less. And I was like, yep, you're right. When you reframe it that way, I don't hate it. But don't call it the merge if it's not the merge. If they're not going to be one group of everybody going to tribal council and being vulnerable at tribal council, that's not the merge to me. I don't know about the old Reba Alliance running the game. We'll see. I didn't love J Maya's play of being like, sure, I'll pretend I was the one who wrote down Sifu's name. Because it seemed like, and Sifu said this, like the 3 of them were holding strong and he couldn't tell who it was. So just like leave it. If you're not going to be upfront about it right away, don't lie about it and then change your lie about it to something else that like puts you in a vulnerable position for no reason. That was like such bizarre strategy to me. I wouldn't be. It so depends, you know, on what happens next week in terms of if they have to do like a 2 groups of. See, I think it's usually like 2 groups of 5, but I guess this would be 2 groups of 6, and someone goes to Exile Island or sits out and picks a team to root for, or who knows. It's always something funky always happens when there's an odd number of people when they put them all together. How long does Katurah versus Bruce carry season 45? It seems like forever. I'm not mad at it. The more we have, because we're getting it all, interestingly, we're getting it all from Katurah's perspective. Bruce has had 2 confessionals across the last 3 episodes of the show. Like, it's shocking how little he's on the season, actually, given that there was all this fanfare about him being the first returnee. But we're getting plenty of Katurah, and I love to see it. And I think his behavior is also obviously rubbing Caleb the wrong way. And so if Caleb and Katurah can pull together, that could be really interesting. Especially, I feel like Emily's going to be happy to vote out Bruce. And then if Emily pulls in Drew and Austin, that's Emily, Drew, Austin, Caleb, Katurah. That's 5. If they bring in Dee and Julie, that's 7. That's enough. Could be interesting. Could be very interesting. I do not feel like Bruce is long for this world in the merge, personally. Given how like, given his edit, and what we're seeing of how other people feel about him, I'm skeptical at how things go for him once he's around everybody. I mean, maybe that makes it less abrasive because he's not one of 5 or 6 people, and so you have more options for who you're interacting with. It's less concentrated, but at the same time, I think it also just gives him the opportunity to annoy everybody. If people on the sit-out bench from another tribe who've never met him are saying he's annoying, imagine when they all get on the same beach with him. And I don't mean this as any sort of critique of his character in real life. Everything I can tell from when they've talked to people from Tika or from 44 in general have been like, yeah, that's Bruce. Bruce is like that. Love him. And everything they're showing of him on TV is accurate to who he is. Your problem is if Bello goes, I think the remaining Bello quickly follow. I don't know that that's the case. I really don't. I think Kelly and Jake are both in good positions. I don't know about Kendra, unfortunately. I don't really know who Kendra has unless Kendra, Katurah, and Kelly pull together, which I certainly see as possible. I feel really good about the 3 of them. Kelly losing Brando's not great since they were like the middle of that tribe. But I see a strong but Kendra is good with Bruce, with Jake. I feel like Kelly's also good with Jake. And there's a possibility that Bruce goes, and that leaves them at 4, which is like a more comfortable number. The Bello women plus Jake, I feel like, is a strong possibility. This is the beauty of having a swap. There are so many more potential relationships and like alliances and groupings that have formed now in a really good way that it makes it more interesting going into the merge to see who sticks together, who comes back together, where the cracks are, where the alliances hold. I love it. I'm so glad we got a swap. And also so glad we got to see whatever tribe this was, New Bello, go to tribal council, because that was a really interesting split. And Emily had to pick a side. She didn't go the way I wanted her to, but I think she did go the way that was probably best for her, for better or worse. Jake makes it to the end is his story that Survivor didn't kill him. He already said he's a survivor. I got nervous for a second that we were getting all that backstory from him. And also, I don't know why. I don't know. I remain nervous that they've now shown us him falling over twice. Because if that's not going somewhere, why are we seeing it? But we haven't even seen medical come be like, hey, what the fuck? Why are you falling over? Let's check on you. So I don't know. I have no sense of how serious it actually is or isn't. Because it seems really scary in the moment. That just like out of nowhere he collapses and then is immediately fine and doesn't seem to know what happened. But then we don't see medical coming to check on him. So what? Are they not? I don't know. I feel pretty good about Jake making it far though. Because I feel like he has good relationships. He seems to be a very charismatic guy. I was just listening to Rob and Gabby on the after show before I jumped on here, and Gabby was saying, like, his accent alone, like, puts a buff on his charisma. And I think that's true. And he's not going to be seen, like, he's performing physically well in the challenges, but I think he won't be seen as a challenge threat because he keeps falling over. So the only question is, I always wonder, it's always interesting to see how individual immunity wins impact how the group sees individual players. Because sometimes people are not thought of as challenge threats until all of a sudden they win an individual immunity and then they have to go. Whereas other people start out looking like the strong people carrying their tribes and are seen as challenge threats, and then in the individual immunities they can't balance on the thing, and so then it's not a factor anymore. Like, Sifu's a very strong guy, but depending on what the individual immunity challenges are, he's a big person, and that may, like, if he's got to balance on a little balance beam, maybe with his Tai Chi, that's fine, but it just depends, you know? Some stand there and hold things are more suited to smaller people, and some are more suited to stronger, bigger people, and it's just a toss-up of what comes first. Should I get the game going? Okay, I think I am not actually at the water temple right now. I left. I did some stuff. Yeah. Okay. How about Emily? She learned not to show her true feelings as quickly on Swapped Bella. I think Emily's in a great spot, which is a wild thing to say. I cannot believe it, but I do think she's in a really good position. You know, she showed her commitment to Austin and Drew, who I've already said I think are in a good spot. And I think she and Caleb are go deep together. And I think they're also in a good position to not, if they play it right, to not seem really close and really tight, but to secretly be really close and really tight, because it is because of their relationship with each other that they made it to be the last two Lulus left. I have so little money. Okay. I cooked some stuff, didn't I?